This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Hello and good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to my Wednesday, the spin-off of the Wednesday Week podcast. And this week, I've got a lady who I've been wanting to talk to for quite some time. I actually work with her husband, Sean, and everybody I know who knows Lisa Morley, says she's a mad, passionate Wednesdayite. And I know she is. I bumped into her a few games. She goes to home and away. And so we've got her on the show at last. And I want to have a chat about Wednesday, how she become a Wednesdayite, you know, what her experiences, her loves about Wednesday, and let's go into that right now. Lisa, welcome aboard. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for asking me.
That's all right. Anytime. So, cast your mind back. When did you first start knowing about Wednesday? When did you start supporting them? And what was your first game?
It happened really weirdly, actually. I couldn't stand football growing up. I don't think I'd ever watched 5 minutes of a football game on the TV. I hated everything about it. And it was early 1991. And I was coming home from work and I bumped into an old school friend. And she asked me if I wanted to go to a football game with her because she got free tickets. She worked for a brewery at the time. She got a lot of free tickets to things. And I'm like, no, thank you. Football's not for me. She went, oh, come on. You know, you never know till you try it. So I thought, go on then. What you've got to remember here, she'd only said football tickets. I could have been at Bramall Lane. I could have been at Chesterfield. I could have been at Rotherham. I could have gone anywhere. And I meets her on the Saturday. And we just happened to get on the bus and go to Hillsborough. And the one thing I'll never, ever forget, and I still get the same feeling now, is we went in through Penistone Road End, up the ramp on the Cop, and through the main entrance on the Cop.
In the middle,
yeah.
Yep.
And bearing in mind, I've never even walked into a stadium before in my life. When I walked up them steps and into that, I've never felt anything like it. It was immense. The stadium, the fans, the noise, the atmosphere. And I just thought, wow, this is beyond anything I ever expected. Now, how I was going to feel about the game, I didn't really know. So we went and stood somewhere. I can't remember where. And I just got caught up in it. And I just thought, this is one of the best things I have ever done. And it just spiraled from there. I mean, I was 17 at the time and my sister was 14. And once Claire stopped going, I was so desperate to go, I got my sister to start going. And it just went from there. And my sister, I'd like to say we're both as passionate as each other, but I'm not sure if my sister even tops me sometimes.
So that was, what, 1990, 91?
It was 91, and I've been asked this before what the game was, and I want to say Oxford United. Now, I can't be sure, it's just what sticks in my mind.
Right.
But what I do know is it was only about 6 or 7 weeks before we played the Rumbelows Cup final at Wembley.
Yeah, I think it was the one where John Sheridan missed a penalty and got booed. It might have been that game. But so you were standing on the Cop then as well, weren't you? It wasn't seated.
No, we were standing then. And then I don't think I missed a game to the end of that season. There wasn't long left.
Right.
But obviously, what a season to first go.
Absolute. And did you go to Wembley as well then?
I didn't. I won't say it's a regret because I wasn't fully into it then enough.
Yeah.
To have been able to get a ticket, to be able to find a way down and things like that. So the season after was more when I became a season ticket holder, started going to some away games. Didn't go to them all because obviously back at 17 I were only an office junior. I didn't have the money to go to the away games.
Yeah.
But that was where it all kicked off.
That's amazing. So there was, because we speak to a lot of people and it tends to be a generation thing.
Yeah,
Like for myself, my dad was a Wednesdayite, my son's a Wednesdayite, and it's sort of passed on through the family.
and you remember the first games you've took them to and things like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But this was so. What brewery did you work for?
I only ever remember it was the one at the bottom of in town where the markets were.
Yep, yep,
At the bottom of that hill was a brewery on the corner.
yep, yep,
She worked for that one,
yeah.
and she get a lot of tickets for like concerts and things like that. But she just happened to get these football tickets, asked me to go, and I think back now and I think, what if I'd have held out and said, no, it's not for me. I'm not bothered. What? And I think what I'd have missed out on. And then I
Yeah,
think
that's mad. I was going to
sometimes
ask.
I've never
I was
took.
going to ask because I thought, I wonder if it had been Ward's, because that'd have been ironic, couldn't it? If it had been Ward's brewery and you'd gone to watch Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I can't remember. I mean, Claire were her name, and I still see her now. She comes to me for her birthday cakes and things. So, I still see her, and we still talk about it. And if ever I put anything on Facebook, she always writes underneath.
So, your dad is a Sheffield United fan.
But we didn't
So,
know.
so how did that go down?
Well, I'll be honest. He had two daughters, me and my sister. Football was never even mentioned in my house. I can't remember my mum and dad ever discussing it. If you'd have asked me which team they supported, I would have said they didn't support any. Because now I know the reason. Because my mum went to Sheffield Wednesday when she met my dad, who went to Sheffield United. And she fell pregnant with me pretty soon, and it wasn't working them both going to the football games. So they made the decision to both stop going. They both had other interests, so it didn't matter. They stopped going, and they didn't even speak about it. And we having two daughters, they never really thought they needed to speak about it because
Yeah.
they never to start going to football matches.
Yeah.
So it could have gone either way. So when we did go, I think at first, I remember the first time I actually come home, and I couldn't get my words out because I was that excited that I'd been to this football game. And I'm saying to my mum, bearing in mind I was 17, I'm saying, oh, it were marvellous. And there was something that I knew my mum wasn't telling me. And what it was, she was thrilled that I'd gone to Hillsborough, but she knew what it was going to do to my dad.
Yeah.
So it was a tough thing. And obviously over the years now, 32 years later, and both his daughters travel all over following I go to Bramall Lane every Christmas. I go in the shop and I buy him a shirt. I do it every Christmas. Sean actually got a picture of me once and I nearly killed him because he put it on Facebook. So I feel, if I'm being honest, I feel a little bit sorry for my dad because I know if it were my kids are both Wednesday fans. They've had season tickets. My grandkids have Wednesday shirts. If they was going to United, I'd be devastated.
Yeah. But they're not, and they're going to Hillsborough instead, which is all good.
Yeah, right.
So you went again. The conversations. It always seems to be me that I speak to. We always remember the 90s. I mean, we were blessed with the 90s, and I do feel sorry for the generations after who haven't had that chance to see us in the Premiership and who thought 23 years down the line we still wouldn't be back in the Premiership. But let's relive those times. So obviously, so your first season ticket would have been the old First Division.
Yeah.
So and then we went into the Premiership was created. Obviously, blessed with some amazing players in those times. Who out of that crop of players in that time was your favourite? Who was your favourite, Lisa?
At the time, before knowing more about football than what I know now, it had to be, there were only one number 8. It was Chris Waddle.
Right. Yeah.
But when I look back now and think of what we had, Roland Nielsen was an amazing player. But if anybody asks me, it has to be Chris Waddle. Everything about him, his mannerisms, the way he looked like he was shattered from 5 minutes into the game. And then the ball come to his feet. And I used to stand towards that side of the Kop, and he was running towards me, and it didn't matter who was trying to take the ball off him. They just couldn't.
So did you have posters of him up on your wall then, being a teenage?
Chris Waddle, David Hurst, Nigel Jemson. I always had the team photo on the back of my door in my bedroom, always. I bought every programme, so all the middles came out with the programmes. They went all over the walls. Yes.
That was an actual thing, wasn't it? Because we all did it. I was in my early 20s, but we all waited for the first programme of the season, which had the team spread in it.
Yep.
With the new kit, home and away. And then, like you say, every game it'd have a centrefold with a player in it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I don't even buy programmes anymore. I've sort of gone beyond that. But I would have never gone to a game in the 90s without picking a programme up. Going to the shop, I'd have the proper poster of the squad, and all the little tiny ones that were signed. There's no getting away from it. I feel very, very lucky that I saw them players at Hillsborough, and they would fit into most Premier League sides now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, thinking about that time, when did you start going to your first away games then? How old were you then?
It's really only started for away games in the last 10 years.
Right.
For as many as we do, which is practically all of them.
Yeah.
Back then it was hit and miss. One reason, my sister was a hairdresser, and so what she used to do is she worked one, had one off, so she always did it so that we could go to Hillsborough.
Yeah.
So the away game. So I remember going to Blackburn for the semi-final of one of the cups.
League Cup '93.
Yeah, I went to Kaiserslautern and I went to Spora Luxembourg.
Wow, brilliant.
I got pulled by the coppers outside the ground because I got there that early. There was only me and my friend stood outside Hillsborough because I was there at 2:15 in the morning. The tickets. They were long journeys on them coaches. Yeah.
I remember I went to Spora by myself. My dad said he couldn't have the day off work, and I remember it picking up at Middlewood Road at silly o'clock in the morning. Driving down to Dover, I think we got the ferry over, and then they stopped us somewhere outside Luxembourg in a service station. I think it was. It was red hot. I remember it being red hot.
Did you go? Yes, it was red hot. Did you go with Sheffield Wednesday? Did you go?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So did I. I went with their coaches then. So going, I went with my sister and Sean's sister that I got into supporting Sheffield Wednesday as well. And then when I went to Kaiserslautern, my sister couldn't afford it, and I went with Claire, the girl that got me the first ticket.
Right, got your ticket. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So out of the games in the 90s, are there any that stick in your mind? Any game that sort of sticks in your mind that you'll always remember?
Definitely. And we do the rivalry for me in Sheffield is second to none. I don't think there's many that's much bigger. And I hated Sheffield United with a passion. So the game against them at Wembley, I don't think I ate all week. I was that nervous. And when that final whistle went, it was magical. It would just, I didn't know how it was going to go. I knew we had the better side, but then I'd already watched them do the double over us. So
that same season, yeah.
So you're thinking, what is going to happen? That was amazing. And to say there was all them thousands of Sheffield people there, I came out of the ground, ran down the steps, got to the bottom and bumped into Sean.
Now, note to people who are listening, Sean obviously is Lisa's husband, and Sean is a Sheffield United fan. So, and it is a butt of the jokes at work, but so Sean is a Sheffield United fan. So we've carried on the family tradition of marrying between United and Wednesday.
There is a story with that one though as well, because when I had a season ticket for Hillsborough, and he had a season ticket for Bramall Lane.
Right.
It wasn't working. It certainly wasn't working. I was nasty when we lost and they won, and he had other hobbies though, which I didn't. I just revolved around football. So we made the decision back in 1991 for him to stop going to Bramall Lane. He wasn't that bothered, and I think he already knew with just the few months we've been together that if anybody was more into the football, it was me, especially with me going with my sister. And when we talk about it now, he says, I don't regret the decision for 1 minute, because I would have never done what you and your sister do now.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we made the right decision. It's still obviously having score flash on his phone is what he classes as supporting Sheffield United.
Yeah, he does take a lot of stick. He does take a lot of stick about that. So back to 93 Wembley. They had done the double overs in the league. We went into that game now. I think we went in as favourites. On paper, we were the better team. You got Alan Cork playing up front for them with a massive beard. Said he wouldn't shave it off, would he, until they got knocked out. Brighty and Hurst, Chris Waddle. That goal that he scored.
Well, I can send goosebumps on my arms just talking about it now. It was just, I can't believe it. I just can't believe it went in. Sean always says to me, he'd not even sat in his seat. He was only just walking to his seat when that goal hit the back of the net. And wow, the memories I have of Chris Waddle are just the best.
He was an iconic player, amazing player, and we've got the late and fantastic Trevor Francis to thank for that, of bringing in that sort of quality player, into playing for Wednesday. And then obviously the song goes, it should have been 10-1, and chance after chance after chance was spurned, and then good old Mark Bright pops up, header, back of the net, and that's us through to the final.
It was. I had that picture. I had the picture of Mark Bright heading the ball and then celebrating afterwards with his signature underneath. And I had the same Chris Waddle one. So it's him scoring, celebrating, and with Sean's not impressed with me wanting to put him on the wall though.
It was an iconic day, wasn't it? And obviously those that don't know, we ended up playing Arsenal in the FA Cup final. We also played Arsenal in the League Cup final, and we lost both finals.
I went to them all as well. I don't know where I found the money from, but I went to them all.
I think you and majority of Sheffield did in regards to the blue side of the city was because it was a replay. It was on a Thursday night.
I had to go in and ask them. I can still remember going into the office at work and saying, "Please, can I have Thursday out off?" The thing is, they knew that even my desk, I had all photos down the side of my desk of all the players. They knew. I mean, I took some stick at work, so I work with all United fans. So, and they said, "Of course, you can." But yeah, it was a memorable time back then.
Wasn't it just? Other than the fact we didn't win anything, which really...
all that, we'll say we didn't come away with anything, but we came away with the memories. So
we did. So that was a real highlight in our time, wasn't it? And then things started to go a little bit awry. Obviously, players started getting older, injured. Hursty left, Sheridan, Waddle, Brighty, and we had the two Italians come in, which were heady times as well. Do you remember the times under Di Canio and Carbone?
See, now this is where I have my gap.
I
had my son in 1994. I went right up until having him. Then once I had him, Sean worked the weekends on a Saturday, and I had no one to have the kids. So I have a gap from 1994 to 2005, where, because my daughter is 6 years younger than my son, so there's quite a gap between them. So it wasn't till my son was 10 and my daughter was 4, and then I went to the odd game when I could manage, but it was only the odd game.
So you left when we were at our highest, and then you came back in 2005,
Yes,
where we were what? Were we League One then? Had we
we
been
was, but we was promoted the season I came back. We was at Cardiff.
right? Okay, so your time is pretty impeccable then,
I was
really, isn't it?
I haven't done too bad. It didn't make any difference though. I still followed them for them 10 years. It's not like now there was no social media, there was no
Yep.
phones. You got a green in on a Saturday afternoon.
Yep.
You got the Sheffield Star, you read the back of it.
Yep.
That's how you kept up with it. And
Yeah.
that really was the only way for me to still follow them. I knew everything. I knew when they scored, whether they was winning, whether they was losing. I still shed tears when they was relegated. That didn't stop. And as soon as me and my sister got the opportunity to start going back a bit, I didn't know whether it would get us again. I didn't know whether we'd gone past that because we was older, we got kids, we've got other things to do. Straight away,
That book was back.
It's as if we'd never left. I mean, by then, obviously, I believe the cop was seated by then as well.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah.
So it wasn't when I left; it was still standing. But it grabbed us straight away.
Fantastic. And then so that season we went to Cardiff.
Yeah.
Were you sort of straight into that season, or did you jump halfway through?
It was a couple of months into that season when we started going to the odd game. Then by after Christmas, we started to go to them all. We just pay on the gate, but we did go to them all. And then obviously we went to Cardiff as well. We made a weekend of it. Fabulous. And what we did do in Cardiff is meet the people that we now sit with at Hillsborough and go all over with.
Wow, fantastic. And do you still sit on the cop now?
We do. I've been in the same seat now. This is probably my 17th, 18th year in the same seat.
Brilliant. So let's fast forward to now.
Yeah.
Let's fast forward and talk about where we are, because obviously we've had our trials and tribulations. COVID didn't help. Our chairman, I don't think, helped. And we had points taken off us. We got relegated. We had COVID. We got relegated during COVID, so none of us could watch it. And then we had two seasons in League One under Darren Moore. The first season, inauspiciously getting knocked out by Sunderland in the playoffs, and then obviously the season we've just had. And I spoke to you before we came on air. Was this thing we've always got to talk about it. I think this will be something that will be legend in regards to the Peterborough games.
Yeah.
Of the Friday night away and the Thursday night at home. So did you go down to Peterborough, Lisa?
I did, yes. And I came out before their fourth goal, and I can still see me and my sister walking around the edge back to the coach. And I just put my foot on the coach as their fourth goal went in. And I turned to my sister and I was very close to tears. I really was. We both was. And I said, I'm cancelling them hotels. I had 4 hotel rooms booked at Wembley. I said, it's pointless. I'm cancelling them. And my sister went, you're jinxing it. Don't cancel it yet. Well, bearing in mind the coaches we go on with the Wednesday nights, it's the same people every week, sit in the same seats. You know them. We was the first back on the coach. Slowly, bit by bit, the others started coming on. And Pete, who we've gone with for years, sits dead opposite us. He stopped in front of us and he went, don't you remember, just you remember, girls, it's only half time. And we laughed at him. And I says, it's a good job you can make us laugh, Pete. And I think the coach is one of the most silent I've ever come home on. There was very little. I mean, I'm ashamed in a way to say myself, I'd completely written them off. Even to the point where on the coach, my sister had said, do you want to go next week? And I said, I'm not sure. I said, I don't know if I can put myself through this anymore. It's raw, isn't it? It's emotional when you...
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we came away from the Friday night one, and I'd not spoke to my sister over the weekend, and then I think on the Monday or the Tuesday she phoned me, nothing to do with football, and at the end of the conversation just went, right, I'll pick you up Thursday night. I said, yeah, I'll see you Thursday. And I thought That was our way of saying we're going, no matter what, we're going.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because I think there was an overwhelming swell on social media after the game, and I can imagine people sat on the coaches travelling back up the A1 of sod that, I'm not going Thursday, and there was a lot of people saying, oh, swathes of people are going to want refunds on the tickets and stuff like that. And I remember clicking online, just looking nosily to see how many tickets had been returned, and there was the odd one or two here or there, which I didn't know might not have been sold before the Thursday night.
Yeah.
But they seem to be a residence of, come on, let's just go and see what happens.
I mean, if I hadn't have gone to it, I would have never forgiven. I would have never not gone. That without a shadow. I thought it for a split second, but I would have never not gone. And I didn't give us any hope until I got in the ground and I saw the packed stadium and the noise from the fans before they'd even come out of the tunnel. And I thought, could we do this? Could the fans? To me, I put 80% down of that win to the fans.
Yeah. It was amazing atmosphere, wasn't it? Just amazing.
Was unbelievable. Because I was never there for the Brighton one, where
right.
I was on holiday in Spain.
Yeah.
And that was always one, when I see that where people put pictures on where they've got all the lights on the cameras.
Yeah.
I always feel a bit, I can't believe I wasn't there for that game.
To me, I think, because I was there at that one with my son, and I don't think there was as much emotion as there was when we played Peterborough and came back. I think there were grown men crying.
Yeah, if I had to pick between one, the problem with the Brighton game is we'd still got to play them at Brighton.
Yeah.
Whereas to come back from 4-0 down, well, it is unbelievable. And I keep saying to people, you just couldn't write the end of our season. You just couldn't write.
So obviously we ended up at Wembley, and we know 120 minutes plus 3. Everybody seems to be having the tattoo, including players. Your day there, did you go down the night before? Did you go down the morning? What did you do?
So I was in Mallorca the week before, and I didn't actually get back to Sheffield while 2:00 on the Sunday morning. And my sister picked me up at 10:00 on the Sunday morning for us to go down. We spent Sunday night and Monday night down there. So when we all got down there, everybody that we all met up at a service station on the way down to the same hotel. We was all in the same hotel. They all decided that Covent Garden was the place to go. I don't drink, so half an hour at Covent Garden and I'd had enough. I left them all to carry on the drinking and the merriment, and I came back to the hotel. And when I got into the hotel, there was a family, the eldest gentleman was 95 to 55. There was 7 of them, and they was all in the restaurant downstairs. And I sat and had a coffee, and obviously I'd got my Wednesday scarf tied around me so they couldn't. And as I got up to go back upstairs, they went, "Come, why don't you come and sit with us?" So I went and sat with them, and I had the best night ever. The eldest gentleman at 95, there was his sons and his son-in-laws that he was with, and he buys them all a season ticket every year, and they all sat at the back of the car, and they have done for years. So I was just listening to their stories, and I ended up having a fantastic night.
Well, you didn't have all the pyrotechnics and then end up getting the police throw you out of Covent Garden.
No, my sister, my son, and my friends did, but not me.
So the final, we all have our own little stories about the final and stuff like that. Is there any sort of things that stick out in your mind of the actual day itself?
I want to say that they're enjoyable, but they're not. They're not enjoyable until the final whistle goes and you've won.
Yeah.
Because the rest of it, I couldn't eat. The nerves were just shredded. And when we got into the stadium and it filled up and the DJ started playing and everybody were dancing and jumping and there were beach balls flying, and I just looked around and I thought to myself, for all them times that I'm travelling back 5 hours on a coach and we've lost 3-0 to Plymouth and things like that, this is what makes it all worthwhile.
Yes, it is. They don't come round very often, do they?
No.
Not they don't for a Wednesday supporter anyway.
We have a lot of iffy matches and we have a lot of things going off in the seasons, but times like that, they're not very often, but when they come around, the Wednesday family is just fabulous.
Yes, absolutely. So, a normal match day, Lisa Morley, what do you have? Do you have any superstitions for a start in regards to, is there a certain thing you have to do in the morning, a certain something you have to wear? Is there something along the lines, any sort of superstitions you have before a game?
Not really, no. We never change the seats. So there is a gap between me and my sister at Hillsborough. It was down to we couldn't get seats together when we first wanted to go and sit with these people that we'd met at Cardiff. They told us where they sat. They said the seats available on the row, but they were separate. It didn't matter. We're all on the same row. There's only a seat between us. But when we go, so if, say, Ricky doesn't come, I don't move into Ricky's seat to sit next to my sister. I still stay in my seat. So little things like that. When we got to Wembley, I made everybody sit, although the tickets had all been bought and everybody's got a ticket number, I made them sit as we sit at Hillsborough.
That's interesting because we do exactly the same. Myself, my son, and my mate Adi, we don't swap seats. We have never swapped seats in the 11 years we've sat together. We know. So if Ethan doesn't go or if I don't go, but Adi takes him, then they'll sit with a seat gap where I would have been sat, or vice versa.
Yeah.
We never move out of our seats, and it'd be interesting to know if there's other people. I think it seems to be a thing that is you don't sit in somebody else's seat, especially if you sat there for some time.
Yeah.
So what's your routine when you go to the match then?
Well, I don't drive. My sister picks me up. She has a fabulous car with a fabulous number plate. AS6 Owls. So my sister picks me up. We go really early, mainly so that we can get parked. Because parking, as you know, around Hillsborough is shocking. Through the summer period, we just tend to go and get a KFC, McDonald's, eat it in the car, and then just go into the game maybe half an hour before kick-off. When it gets to the winter, we tend to leave the car, go into Hillsborough, and go into the Costa Coffee and have a coffee and a bun.
This is all very respectable. I was expecting dancing on bars and all sorts.
My sister, yes. I rein my sister back in. She's the one that likes to drink. She's the one that likes to party. I'm not like that.
Brilliant. So the current crop of players who we've got, obviously there's a few new ones come in recently, but who's your standout over the last few years? Who's your favourite you've got now? Obviously you had Chrissy Waddle in the back in the day. Who's your one now who you would stick up as a poster on your bedroom wall?
It's a tough question, that. I'm going to go with Barry Bannan. But I'm going to go with Barry Bannan, not probably for the reason that people think, because I think he's the best footballer at the club. I think he's the most loyal person we've got at the club. I think he's Wednesday through and through. I think he loves us. I think if he could stay there and coach, he would, when his time's up. That part of it, because anybody that loves Wednesday, I love them.
Yeah.
So I think that's the part of Barry Bannan. I mean, I think Barry Bannan is a great footballer on his day. Sometimes he can have really bad performances. But I'd probably go with Barry Bannan. Although I'm really starting to like Patterson at the minute. It gives 110% all the time.
It's funny, isn't it? I think he's got a very big female following in regards to the Wednesdayites. And he is what he doesn't have in talent, he gives in effort, doesn't he?
And Barry Bannan said the same other week, because I thought, wow, I can't believe he said that. But he is right. He is. And there was a time I didn't even know I was on the pitch. But now I think to myself, that man he really works hard. He never stops, and I'm glad he's getting back into the side.
Yeah. So obviously things have changed over the last month or so since that huge high we had at Wembley
Yeah.
to where we are now. Where do you see this season going? What's your thoughts on it?
I've absolutely no idea. That I've got to be honest. I was disappointed with Friday night's game, but yes, but then I was happy about Friday night's game. It was strange. I was disappointed that we let the equaliser go and them go on to win. But there's no getting away. There was a way superior team, way superior. But I thought we held our own. What I did like is he saw what was wrong in that first half and he changed it. We came out in the second half and we played the way we needed to play to try and get anything from that game. So that's made me feel that the manager has got something about him. He could pick it up straight away. I mean, the first half, obviously, they just absolutely hammered us. But I felt in the second half we couldn't compete with their football, so we played our way of playing, and I felt they struggled more against that. So to me, there's something right in the dressing room that they picked it up and they came out and tried to change it. As for the way the season's going to go, it's a really tough championship, this one.
I think what I was saying is that we've been out of it 2 years, and the championship seems to have levelled up another level from when we left it.
Yeah.
That the teams obviously when we went down, um, Premiership teams that were coming down at that time weren't full of these galactic stars of 35, 40 million pound values of what we seem to have now, and also the skill levels as well has just seemed
Yeah.
to have gone up another notch. So it's interesting times, isn't it? It's interesting times. Fourth from bottom will be more than happy, I think, for myself, and I think a lot of Wednesday fans would
Yeah.
say the same.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to have highs and lows, lots of them. So, are you home and away again this season, Lisa?
I'm off to Hull on Saturday.
Commiserations. So, obviously, all your family are Wednesday, apart from the husband. Do you feel, is there any sort of, what's it like? Give me a picture of what it's like living married to a United fan.
He learned very early on to just keep his mouth closed. And I can't fault him because I've come back from games and I've, like when we've been relegated and I've been to the games, I've come back in tears, and other way round, I would have no sympathy whatsoever. And he's not like that. What, like he always says, he can see something in me that he's never really seen before. What me and my sister do. There isn't many that do what me and my sister do. There is women that follow them, but a lot of them tend to not have families at home. Especially like my husband that works away Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
He comes back on a Friday night, and on a Saturday I get up and I can go out all day to the football. And he would never ask me to stop. He knows I never would, but he's very, very good with it, to be honest.
So a little bit of banter in there. I suppose it helps the fact that your kids are Wednesday as well, isn't it?
Yeah, to be honest, there isn't much banter because I don't do banter very well. I get very annoyed very quickly. So he finds it better just not to really say anything. Sometimes he does try to engage me in conversations about players that are at Sheffield United, and I just look at him as if to say, why are you even talking to me about? And I will chew his ear off. Like when we come back from Wembley, I felt so sorry for him because if I wasn't watching it on my phone, replays or different places from YouTube where they've got different bits of the stadium they was taking it for, and every time you come down, you say you're never watching it again, or the Peter.
Oh, bless him. Oh dear. Well, he sounds to me like he's probably the best husband you could have, really, in relation to that.
In relation to that, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. And he's never bothered. I buy the grandkids. Well, he buys it. He earns a lot more than me. He buys the grandkids the football shirts when we go down to Hillsborough. So he takes it well.
Good. Well, it's great having that sort of perspective because I've got a few friends who have actually got female partners who are united, and it doesn't seem to work that way.
No, and I think maybe if I wasn't such a big fan, if I only odd games here and there, it probably may say a little more. But like he said, the Peterborough game, we even only discussed this yesterday actually when we were watching Charity Shield, and he said to me, the best game of football I have ever watched, he says, was the Peterborough game with Sheffield Wednesday. He says, and I was screaming at the TV at the end of the game. So you can make sure they all know this, that he was Sheffield Wednesday at the end of that game.
Next time I see him, I'll make sure I'm aware of that. Lisa, it's been fantastic. Thank you very much for coming on. It's been great hearing your stories. You've got Claire to thank for making your Wednesdayite.
Yes.
And we'll have to look at which brewery that is. I think it was the Wheatsheaf Brewery. I think it was the Wheatsheaf Brewery. But that's brilliant. And we see these videos now of kids walking in, don't we, the first ever game. And obviously when you first went, 17-year-old, it'd have been fantastic having that video, seeing you walking out onto the Cop.
Yeah.
And I know exactly where you walked out. It's halfway up. It's a great view.
Yeah, it is. I still get the same feeling now. I went that way. The start of the game, the first game of the season, me and my sister always go that way, even though our seat's to the other side. So we actually normally would go up the side entrance. But on the first game, we still walk in the main entrance of the Cop, and I still get that feeling.
Fantastic. That is being a football fan, isn't it?
Yeah,
that is being a football fan. Lisa, thank you very much for coming on. I know you're a little bit nervous, etc. But it's been brilliant speaking to you and great learning about your experiences watching Sheffield Wednesday. All right, thank you very much. And if you're everybody who's watched this, hope you enjoyed that. If you want to press like and subscribe, please do. And I know we'll be having plenty more My Wednesdays coming up very soon. See you soon.
See you. Bye.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.